The sun was sinking behind Charleston's marshes, throwing gold across the Golden Bay Country Club windows. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel, watching light dance across white columns. My modest Lexus was parked among Mercedes, BMWs, and a Tesla that probably cost more than my annual salary. I checked my reflection one last time. Navy satin dress. Simple. Elegant. The kind expensive enough to belong, but understated enough not to draw attention. I had learned that balance years ago. How to exist in my family's world without ever quite being part of it. Inside, the ballroom glowed with amber light. Crystal chandeliers hung like frozen fireworks, scattering reflections across marble floors. Every table was dressed in ivory silk with white magnolias and gold-rimmed candles. Waiters in crisp jackets glided between guests, trays sparkling with champagne flutes. A young attendant approached with a clipboard. "Name, please?" "Anna Crawford." She scanned the list. "Ah, yes. Table 12, ma'am. Straight ahead to the right." Table 12. I found it at the far end of the hall, tucked near the service door. Each time the door swung open, heat escaped from the kitchen, carrying roasted salmon and garlic butter, followed by clattering trays and urgent voices. My chair was positioned so close that every passing waiter made my seat shake. From here, the dance floor looked like another world. Marissa, my younger sister, posed for photographs in silk and sparkle. People circled her like planets around the sun. Our mother stood beside her, beaming with pride. At table 12, conversations rose and fell around me. Strangers discussing vacation homes, mortgage rates, engagements. The voices overlapped, never quite including me, never quite excluding me. I existed in the space between, invisible but present. My thoughts slipped backward through the years to my parents' dining room 20 years ago. Robert Crawford had always avoided storms, retreating behind newspapers when tension brewed. My mother, Carolyn, filled the silence he left behind with observations and subtle comparisons. Marissa had been born with a smile that earned applause just for existing. "That child could charm a banker out of his wallet," my father would joke. I was different, steady, dependable. "Our rock," Carolyn would say with a proud smile that carried a sigh beneath it. "Anna will always be fine on her own." Those words had followed me through my 20s like a shadow, a compliment disguised as dismissal. At family gatherings, Marissa would squeeze my hand with theatrical sympathy. "I just wish you'd find someone already, Anna. Don't you ever get lonely?" Then she'd turn to our mother. "I worry about her, Mom. There's more to life than independence." And Carolyn would nod. "You'll understand one day, Anna. Love makes a woman whole." That morning, Marissa had called. "Just checking in before the big day. You're still coming, right?" "Yes, Marissa. Of course." "Oh, good. I know how you hate crowds," she laughed. "Don't drink too much tonight, okay? You know how champagne gets to you? And try not to stand by yourself too long. You always look so sad in photos." The call ended with a click that felt more like a door closing. Now, sitting at table 12, I straightened my posture. I wasn't jealous. I didn't want Marissa's life. I was just tired. Tired of being written in the margins of my own life. Suddenly, Marissa's eyes found me across the ballroom. She smiled wide and bright, then walked in my direction. "Oh, there you are," she called, loud enough to draw nearby heads. "Come with me for a second." Her fingers curled around my wrist like velvet claws. "You've been hiding all night. Let's fix that." She pulled me to a circle of well-dressed strangers. Daniel's family. His parents, aunts, uncles, everyone. "This is my sister, Anna Crawford. The overachiever of the family, marketing executive, independent woman." She laughed. Too busy for love, but brilliant at spreadsheets. Laughter rippled through the group, sharp enough to sting. "Oh, I admire that," said a woman in pearls, dripping with condescension. "Career women these days have it all. Except, well, time for romance." Another woman leaned closer. "You should come to our church, dear. Lots of nice single men. We even have mixers on Friday nights." An older man muttered, adjusting his cufflinks. "Pretty girl like you. Working herself to death." A photographer appeared. "Let's get a family shot. Bride, groom, parents, and sister." He glanced at me curiously. "And where's your +1, ma'am?" The air thinned. Silence dropped like a curtain. Marissa's eyes glittered with amusement. She came solo. That's our Anna. Never needed anyone. The camera flashed, sharp as a gunshot. Inside, my thoughts moved with cold precision. This isn't carelessness. This is choreography. Later, the MC's voice rang out. All right, ladies, you know what time it is. Bouquet toss time. Christina Powell spotted me. Anna, come on. You're single. You have to join. Before I could protest, her hand closed around my wrist. Come on, it's tradition. I tried to blend into the back row, half hidden behind a bridesmaid's curls. But Marissa turned her head. Her eyes found mine. The smile that crossed her face wasn't sisterly. It was a smirk, soft and deliberate. 1, 2, 3. The bouquet arced through the air. Except, Marissa flicked her wrist at the last second, sending it spinning in the opposite direction. It landed in a stranger's hands. Oh well, Marissa said lightly. Maybe next time, Sis. Aunt Linda leaned over from a nearby table. See, honey? Even fate is telling you something. I walked toward the exit. My fingers closed around my clutch. Enough, I thought. I've played my part. But just as I reached for the handle, a calm male voice spoke behind me. Low, steady. Pretend you're with me. I froze. When I turned, a man stood just behind me. Tall, composed, the faintest smile tugging at his lips. He extended a hand. Ethan Cole, Daniel's cousin from New York. I was at the bar when your sister told her friends you'd probably sneak out early. Like always, she said. She told them, you can't handle being the only single woman in the room. My chest tightened. She's not wrong. I was about to leave. That's exactly what she's counting on. Leaving gives her the ending she wants. And what do you suggest instead? Change the narrative. He smiled. That you're not alone. Something about his sincerity disarmed me. I gave the smallest nod. All right. Let's give them a story. He guided me back toward the ballroom. Ethan moved with quiet confidence, one hand resting lightly on the back of my chair as we sat down together at table 12. I could feel the subtle shift ripple through the room. Nearby guests glanced our way, whispered, smiled knowingly. Now we wait, Ethan said. Gossip travels faster than champagne at these things. Across the ballroom, Marissa turned from a conversation. Her gaze caught on us. Her expression faltered. For the first time that evening, I didn't feel invisible. It didn't take long for the whispers to reach Marissa. She excused herself and crossed the room, heels clicking against marble. Anna, I didn't know you two had met. We've known each other for a while, Ethan said evenly. Old friends. Lost touch for a while. Marissa searched my face for confirmation. Old friends. That's unexpected. I took a sip of wine. Some things are better kept private. Marissa's smile faltered. For a heartbeat, she wasn't the perfect bride, just a woman whose script had suddenly been rewritten. Ethan turned back to me. You were telling me about your project in Charleston Harbor. I caught on immediately. Oh, right. The coastal branding campaign. We increased engagement by 40% in the first quarter. That's impressive. How did you approach the demographic research? It wasn't just small talk. It was theater, elegantly played. Marissa stood there frozen between politeness and fury, watching the exchange unfold like a scene she hadn't been invited to direct. When the band slowed to a waltz, Ethan extended his hand. You've hidden long enough. Under the chandeliers, we stepped onto the dance floor. Candlelight flickered across mirrored walls. Ethan's hand found the small of my back, steady and unintrusive. Round us, guests turned to watch. Marissa stood by the cake table, her expression frozen in polite disbelief. Your sister looks like she's about to explode, Ethan whispered. I smiled. Good. Let her. When the song ended, polite applause rippled through the crowd. I caught my reflection in the mirrored wall. My shoulders were straighter, my eyes brighter. The woman staring back wasn't the quiet afterthought of someone else's story. She was beginning to take up space again. The waltz had just faded when Marissa appeared again. Well, look at you two. We're so happy Anna finally met someone. My hand stiffened in Ethan's. I knew that tone. Ethan turned, unhurried. Strange. You didn't act that way earlier. The shift in the room was immediate. Conversations dimmed. Marissa's smile froze. Well, I didn't realize you two were serious. We're just talking. But that didn't stop you from warning people she'd probably leave early. Again. Marissa blinked rapidly. Oh, I was just teasing. You know how sisters are. I do, but what I heard wasn't teasing. It was deliberate. He looked around, meeting a few eyes. You went out of your way to make sure everyone knew your sister came alone, to make sure she stayed small, in a room that should have been about family. The silence was sharp now. Marissa tried to recover. Ethan, you're misunderstanding. He smiled, cold but polite. Maybe, but I don't think so. I've been to enough weddings to recognize when cruelty is being passed off as humor. Then maybe tonight's a good time to rethink what you mean by family support. Someone near the bar murmured, "Good for him." Marissa's hand trembled. "Come on," she whispered to Daniel. "Let's go check on the cake." She turned sharply, her perfect smile collapsing the moment her back was turned. Ethan exhaled. "Well, I think that qualifies as round 2. My throat felt tight. You didn't have to do that. He looked at me, steady and kind. Yes, I did. A few minutes later, Ethan leaned toward the nearest waiter. Would you mind helping us move this table? The lighting here keeps reflecting off the service door. Within moments, 2 staff members appeared, repositioning table 12 closer to the center of the room beneath the chandelier's golden glow. The shift was subtle, but the effect immediate. Suddenly, my table gleamed in full view of everyone. By the time the staff poured fresh champagne, the whispers had started again. Different this time. Reverent instead of pitying. You didn't have to do that, I murmured. Ethan smiled faintly. Sure I did. Everyone deserves good lighting. Within minutes, people began approaching. The same relatives who had avoided eye contact now stopped to greet me, their smiles wide, curiosity transparent. Even Aunt Linda appeared. Well, seems our Anna's finally found herself a fine gentleman. From across the room, Marissa stood frozen near the dessert table, watching as guest after guest gravitated toward her sister. The same sister she had tried to erase. Ethan caught the look. You see her? My lips curved into the faintest smile. She's realizing the crowd she built is a fickle one. The lights dimmed again. Gentlemen, you know the drill. Time for the garter toss. The groom's laughter echoed as he tossed the garter high. It spun like a silver ribbon beneath the chandeliers and landed squarely in Ethan's hand. The guests erupted into cheers. Tradition says he has to put it on whoever caught the bouquet, Marissa's voice followed. But the woman was nowhere to be seen. Then he'll just have to pick someone, a voice called. All eyes turned toward me. Ethan was already moving, the garter dangling from his finger. Rules are rules. The music softened. He knelt before me. Not as performance, but with quiet grace. My pulse roared as he gently slipped the garter up my ankle, stopping just below my dress hem. His touch was careful, almost reverent. For the first time that night, I didn't feel watched or mocked. I felt seen. When Ethan stood, the applause was thunderous. Later, when the band began to pack up, Ethan offered me his arm. Come on. Let me walk you out before your sister finds another reason to make a scene. Outside, the night air was cool, carrying the scent of salt and magnolia. The parking lot shimmered with string lights. I paused beside my car. Thank you. For whatever tonight was. He smiled faintly. It wasn't nothing, if that's what you're afraid to call it. Why did you help me? Because I saw you long before I spoke to you, and because no one deserves to be made small in their own family. He reached into his jacket, pulling out a business card. Call me, not for revenge, but because you want to. That night, before I even took off my heels, I called. Time passed quietly. What started as a single call turned into messages, visits, long-distance weekends. Between us grew something steady, unhurried, built not on appearances but on mutual respect. A year later, the Golden Bay Country Club glowed again. The staff had rearranged the ballroom for a private dinner. At the center stood a single table, table 12, now covered in candles. When I walked in, my breath caught. Ethan was waiting, wearing that same calm smile. I thought we could give this table a better memory, he said. I laughed softly, my voice trembling. You really do love poetic symmetry. Maybe, but mostly I just love you. He knelt, producing a simple velvet box. Anna Crawford, will you marry me? Tears welled in my eyes. Around us, candlelight danced on polished glass. Yes, I whispered. Of course. Yes. News of our engagement spread through the family. Marissa's congratulations came through a carefully worded text, but the envy beneath it didn't escape me. At the next family gathering, Marissa's smile looked thinner, her marriage more brittle. The sparkle that once drew everyone to her had dimmed. Years later, when Ethan and I were settled in our small home overlooking Charleston Harbor, Marissa showed up at my door one rainy afternoon. Her eyes were puffy. Daniel's leaving me, she said. He met someone else. I didn't gloat. I didn't remind her of past cruelties. I simply opened the door wider. Come in, I said softly. We sat together in silence for a long time, sipping tea while rain hit the windows. Marissa cried quietly, her mask finally gone. I used to think you wanted people to like you, she whispered, but you just wanted peace. I smiled faintly. And I found it when I stopped needing their approval. In the years that followed, the sisters slowly rebuilt something fragile but real. Marissa learned humility. I learned forgiveness. On our 5th wedding anniversary, Ethan recreated that candlelit table in our kitchen. No audience, no chandeliers, just candles and a song playing low. Do you ever think about that night? He asked. Sometimes, but not the way I used to. It doesn't hurt anymore. It just reminds me how far I've come. We danced slowly between the counters, barefoot, the scent of dinner lingering. The best revenge, I realized, had never been about proving my sister wrong or winning back the crowd's approval. It was the quiet victory of building a life defined by kindness, self-respect, and love. The kind of happiness that didn't need witnesses. As Ethan twirled me gently under the kitchen light, my laughter echoed through the house, soft and bright. It wasn't the sound of triumph. It was the sound of redemption,